Hey everybody, welcome back to Occult Perspectives. It's really good to be back. I've been itching to make a new video. I hope all of you are well. As always, I've been keeping really busy. For those of you who know me personally, you might know that I have a lot of big changes coming up soon. So there's a lot of new things happening, a lot of new energy coming in, but it's all going to be for the best. Some beautiful, cool things happening. So in this video, I wanted to continue on the ceremonial magic section of videos. So if you haven't gone back and started out with the first video where I teach the relaxation ritual, and then we get to tarot contemplation, and then we start learning about the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, and then I taught the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram. But in this video, I'm actually going to cover the LVX, because technically the LVX, or otherwise known as the analysis of the keyword, is like a prerequisite, kind of, not necessarily to the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram. You don't have to do it before you learn that one, but it is highly recommended that you do. If you add it on to the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram, it adds a lot of power to it. Actually, I'm glad I've got this book handy and right here, because I've been reading Damien Eccles' Angels and Archangels. This is a great book. It's very concise the way he writes, and I've been adding a couple. He covers a lot of not only the archangels, but the zodiacal angels, the angels of the zodiac, and the tree of life in here. I'm not really quite that advanced yet. I'm not really trying to rush into things. So I work with the four main archangels, Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel, or Uriel, depending on how you pronounce it. And then also Metatron above, with the tree of life exercise, and Sandalphon below. But in this book, he says you can, when you do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, you can also say, above me, Metatron, and beneath me, Sandalphon. Add those on with the other archangels. Another cool tip that he puts in there is that when you do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, and he also explains the differences between those two pretty well in this book. I wish I would have found his book a little bit earlier, because if you've watched my lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram videos, you see that I try to cover everything, and I pull from a lot of different resources to try and figure out what's right, as far as, do you invoke in the morning, and then do you banish at night? There's a couple different viewpoints on this. For the most part, that's true, but if you get this book, it'll clarify a lot of things for you. He says even if you do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and then the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram afterwards, this can also work. So long as you're working with archangels, it's okay to, if you've done an invocation, you don't have to do a banishing. But if you feel that the energies need to be more put to rest or whatever, it makes sense to do like a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, later on in the night, or to seal off all the work. Some people close off with what we're going to cover in this video as well. They'll do the LVX, they'll do the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram, and then they'll do the LVX again to close. Some people close their whole temple with the LVX. Now, the order of rituals that Donald Michael Craig, the way he has it in order in this book. Let me go ahead and skip forward just a little bit. So your daily routine would be the relaxation ritual, which we've covered. Then you would do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And usually, the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, if you want to draw in energies or you want to manifest something. I had a really cool instance the other day where I manifested a lot of stuff in a short span of time right after doing the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram. So it helps to kind of accelerate things forward, I find. Sorry, I'm getting off track. The order he says to do the rituals: the relaxation ritual, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the banishing ritual of the hexagram, or the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram is how I know it. They're the one and the same. The middle pillar ritual, the circulation of the body of light, which I think we talked about in the middle pillar ritual video, which is where you actually take the light that you've accumulated through, you know, the central pillar, and then you like flow this light around you in different ways, and it talks about it in this book. It's just an advanced version of the middle pillar. If you want more information on that, and I didn't cover it in the middle pillar video, I don't think I've gone back and watched that one a second time. I might have, but I'm not sure if I covered it in there. But we could always recover that. And I think I talked about the archangels that are associated with each sphere, you know, as you move down in the middle pillar as well. I'm pretty sure I covered that. After the circulation of the body of the light, then if you needed to, you would do a tarot contemplation ritual. And then you write in your ritual diary, which I have kind of been getting back in the habit of keeping a ritual diary, which has been really nice. So let's get on to the point of this video before I ramble too much. The LVX, INRI, it's a notaricon, which is where you take, I believe it's the first letter of every word, and then it creates a new meaning depending on, if I can find, here we go. INRI are the letters Yod, Nun. I'm not sure if you say it Nun or Noon. Resh, and then Yod. I think, let's see. So he talks about, if you have this book on page 135 about the symbolism of the cross, we're not going to go into that because the symbolism of the cross is pretty universal. It's not just a Christian thing, and you can look up more information on that if you want to. Let's start here. Another symbol is composed of the letters INRI. It's the most famous use of these letters was supposedly on Jesus' cross. They were an abbreviation. Again, this is what I was trying to find. A notaricon. There are many of these in both the Christian and Jewish versions of the Bible for Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. I wonder if he's got a definition for notaricon back here in his glossary. That would be nice if he did. Just so I've covered notaricons in other videos, but for those of you who might be jumping in, an aspect of the literal Kabbalah that works with acronyms or abbreviations. So it's basically acronyms formed from the first letter of each Hebrew word in that statement, essentially. Another meaning is Igne Naturae Renovatar Integra. I think that's Latin. Yeah, Latin. Nature by fire is renewed in its integrity. So we're still talking about that, the INRI. Yep, it was Latin, those words I just said, to the alchemists, and it meant for nature by fire is renewed in its integrity. In a later lesson, I will be discussing certain aspects of alchemy that will make this particular phrase instantly clear. Another version of these letters meant shining or glittering is rarely found in fire. That one's a little more difficult to comprehend, but it's another alchemical meaning. For me, basically what the LVX represents is it's all three phases of life, like in one ceremony. So you've got the L, which is the sign of Virgo or Isis, V, which is Apophis or Typhon or Scorpio, which is like the destroyer energy. It's more like the Saturn energy. Virgo, of course, is the springtime renewal. It's birth. You know, Isis is the divine feminine, and then this darkness, and then Osiris. And I was just reading about this in another book I'm reading too. It's The Secret History of the World. It's really interesting. It talks about the primordial mother and like Saturn, the shadow aspect in the beginning, and then the savior sun god that comes in and is resurrected. And this is symbolized by the X and the LVX, the sign of Osiris, slain and risen. So it's this whole cycle kind of summarized in one ceremony that you're doing. It's like you're manifesting you're like transcending this cycle. You're not trying to get caught up in it. We all live in it because, you know, the seasons and stuff as they move along. The Virgo represents springtime. Scorpio or Apophis represents winter. These are all, you know, aligned with nature and the elements. And then the sun rises again. December 25th, we celebrate Christmas, and that's when the sun starts to move upwards again. Yep, and then it ends with Virgo, so it's INRI. Okay, so as we said, the letters INRI, Yod, and you draw these with your finger, and we'll get to that here shortly. I'm not in any really big rush because we're going to cover this and square this material pretty well so that you know how to do the whole LVX by the time I'm done with this video. Just so you know, this is not a ceremony that I've performed many times, the LVX. At this point I have done it, and I have seen really, really cool results from it, especially when you pull down the divine light. It seems to really manifest some things for you. For me personally, it's helped push me on my personal path to, you know, continue my journey, my individual journey, while I'm still living my life and having fun and doing the things and other responsibilities I need to do throughout life. But this ceremony, LVX, on top of the lesser banishing ritual, the hexagram, and the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, really kind of pushes you forward if you're doing all these practices together. And it seems to work really well in the order of doing them that I outlined earlier in this video in Modern Magic here. So Yod is the little squiggly. There's actually, the Hebrew letters are kind of hard to draw because they have thickness in some letters of the area, and then the top is like skinnier, etc. But I have a friend who made how to do them like kind of in an English style, so it's really not literal was the word I was looking for. Very wow, I totally had a linear was the word I was looking for. So it's very straightforward. So for Yod, you would just, and I'm moving, I think it looks like I'm moving right on the camera, which I am moving right from the way I'm looking though. So you do Yod, Nun is something like that, and then you do another, then you do Resh in front of you, which is kind of something kind of like that, and then another Yod, and you draw these letters in blue with your index finger. If you have an air wand, I'm pretty sure, I'm gonna move this table a little bit closer to me. If you have an air wand, you can use that, but I don't have any of the elemental tools. I just use an athame to direct the energy, so I just use my finger for the LVX. Yod is water, and it's associated with Virgo. The Nun is fire, ironically, but I think the letter means fish, which is funny, and Yod means hand, I think, or fist. Nun means fish, and it's associated with Scorpio. The element is fire, though. That makes sense, the Mars-Scorpio connection. R is Resh, which is an air, associated with air and the sun. Actually, this makes sense because if you look towards the east, that's where the sun rises. That's the quarter east is the direction that's associated with Archangel Raphael as well, and Resh starts with R, so that's another kind of cool synchronicity. And then I is Yod again, but this time the second I is associated with the element of earth. That's interesting. It's so they can get all four elements in these. I don't know if you can see this or not, my scribbly handwriting. INRI, water, fire, air, and earth, and then Virgo again. Okay, and then the way you pronounce light in Latin, which is the way we'll say it in this ceremony, and we'll go step by step here in just a couple minutes on how to do this ritual. That was really interesting. I've got some tones playing on in the background, and it's just bubbles on the screen. It's just total, like you're covered in water. It was really kind of interesting sensation I had. It was like being washed, cleansed, Particularly, as I was saying before too, in Damien Eccles' book, if you invoke the same archangel in all four directions, I find it really cool to do like Gabriel for emotional healing. So just go ahead and invoke, or invoke Gabriel in all four directions instead of Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Oriel. Moving on, light in Latin is pronounced lux. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get in. I'm gonna get into the actual ceremony. Let me see if there's anything else I need to cover here. Kabbalistically, the letters INRI represent much more. INRI, which in Hebrew, which would be Yod, Nun, Resh, and Yod, as we already said, are also the first letters in Hebrew for the four archetypal elements. A guy named M. Ward in his book Freemasonry and the Ancient Gods. That sounds interesting. For those of you who may be totally unfamiliar with astrology, let's examine briefly the meanings of these astrological signs on a very simple basis. Virgo is the pure and virginal sign of nature. Scorpio is the sign of energy, death, and transfiguration. Soul, the sun, is the source of light and life to everything on the earth. It is central to our lives because it is central to our solar system. There have been many savior gods in the history of our planet. For the Norse, it was Balder. For the Egyptians, it was Osiris. For the ancient Celts of the British Isles, it was Lu. I think I'm saying that right. To the Hindus, it was and is Krishna. Just as in the Christian story of the only Son of God and all these savior gods died and came back to life for the good of humanity. All the savior gods are represented with the sun. And we were talking about the seasons before. They die in winter and are reborn with the warmth and plant and animal life which reappears in the spring. If there's anything else, the Egyptian Virgo is represented by the goddess Isis, who is nature and mother of all things. Scorpio, represented by Apophis, also known as Set or Typhon, who is death, the destroyer. Soul is represented by Osiris, who slain and risen was the Egyptian resurrection and vegetative deity. Interesting. Probably some connection with the acacia sprig there if you haven't checked out my video on alchemically stoned yet. I just haven't continued on that series yet, but if you would like me to work on a different series, let me know. The magic series seems to be the most popular ones, though I seem to get the most likes on that. Okay, I think I've covered everything I need to here. Oh, here we go. It is interesting to note as well, because there's a part of the ritual that you vibrate the name Iao, and this is right before you pull down the divine light. It is interesting to note that in the Notaricon, the abbreviation made of the first letters of Isis, Apophis, and Osiris, I-A-O, pronounced Iao, Iao, forms the name of the supreme god of the Gnostics, an early sect of Christianity. That is a really cool note to add in there as well, as we've studied Gnosticism, especially in like the hierarchy, and that's another series. I would love to get back into the hierarchy. I'd love to get back into Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. There's just so much material to be covered, but we are where we are right now, and I couldn't be happier. This is a really cool place to be. I'm happy to be here with you guys, educating you, passing on the torch, passing on the light, so to speak, so that you can go and teach other people and you can see my insights. There's different versions of this, and something I meant to say earlier too, in Damien Eccles' books, I haven't read High Magic yet, but I'm almost done with this one. Some of his abbreviations of the sacred god names, he just pronounces differently than I do. And that's fine. Everybody, I think, has slightly different variations on that, but I've just found out what works for me. And I cover those in my other videos, my Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Pentagram videos. So we're going to get into the actual ceremony of the LVX now. I feel like we covered enough introductory information about what the symbolism of the ritual is. I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to say, though. We were talking about the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, and how Damien pronounces them differently. He also covers the LVX a little differently. Like, his version is slightly different than what I'm going to teach is in this book, Modern Magic, which I've recommended in pretty much, well, a lot of my videos before. It's a great book. I think that the information's a little scattered and not quite organized as well as Damien has. His stuff's a little more condensed and a little more basic to understand and read, but this book's really easy too. It's just that some of the information's not quite in the order that I would have it be in this book, so you kind of have to jump around to like different sections to really get the tidbits of stuff that's beneficial, at least for me, at this point in my journey. So let's proceed. First, you perform the relaxation ritual, then you perform the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And then you do, okay, we call it the LVX, or the analysis of the keyword. You stand in front of your altar, or if you don't have an altar, like I do, I usually just face east, wherever I'm at, with your arms out to the sides so that your body forms a cross. You can't see the whole width of my arms the way the camera is. So that your body forms a cross. You should be facing east. If you have a ritual wand, as I said before, you should use it in this ritual. It should be held in the right hand with its point up. And then you say meaningfully, I, N, R, I. And then as you draw the blue letters, you say, as we said before, Yod, Nun, Resh, Yod. And you'll see them blue as you draw them. And then you say, after you draw those, you say the sign of Osiris slain. Here, and I'll just read this section. As you say the letters in Hebrew, the second line of the above verbalization, draw them from right to left in front of you. Use the tip of your wand or your right index finger. The letters are formed from top to bottom. As you draw them, visualize them in bright blue flames. And here's a picture of what they look like. So remember to draw them from right to left because it's Hebrew. Yod, so it's this way. Yod, Nun, Resh, Yod. Next, after that, you form the letter L with your hands. This top hand, the palm points to the side, and then this palm points forward. So it's L. The sign of the morning of Isis. You say that meaningfully. And your head is slightly bowed. This is similar to the position, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I guess I could say that. To the position of the right arm of the Magician card in the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. Except that the arm should be straight up. Look at your left hand with your head slightly bowed and say meaningfully. So you do L, and then you kind of look down a little bit at your left. L. Step 4, raise the arms to the position over the head so that they form an angle of about 60 degrees. This makes the letter V. The palms should be facing one another. Tilt your head back and look up and say meaningfully, V, the sign of Apophis. I'm sorry, I messed it up. It's V, the sign of Typhon and Apophis. Yeah, and it takes a minute to memorize this stuff. It takes like a couple days. It's not a lot of steps, but make sure you try to memorize it as good as you can. I had a little cheat sheet for the first time, and then I pretty much had it down after that. So after the sign of the V, you say the sign of Typhon and Apophis. Now cross your arms on your chest, right over left. Your fingertips should just be touching your shoulders. This forms the letter X. Bow your head and say meaningfully, the sign of Osiris slain and risen. And then you reform each sign, so you do L, V, X. And then after that you make, I like to close my eyes, and you make the cross again, and you say Lux as you see the white cross. And then you bring your hands back down again. It says in this book, in Modern Magic, and you say the light of the cross as you're looking down with your head bowed again. So yeah, we'll cover that again. Now you reformed each of the LVX signs, saying the name of each letter as you do so. This is followed by the word they spell, which is pronounced to rhyme with the word boots, which is Lux. So it was the LVX and then Lux, and then on the word Lux you made the cross. It's a white, I envision it as a white light. At the word light in the following statement, spread your arms and look forward, then recross the arms as before, and you bow your head and you say meaningfully the light of the cross. Because this is the sign of Osiris risen. Okay, step 8. So again, return to the first position, arms out to the sides, looking forward. Slowly raise the arms toward the V position, slowly raising your head as you say meaningfully. Okay, so you make the V again, but you start out kind of not up all the way yet. Like this, you start out at the sides, and you say, Virgo, Isis, Mighty Mother, Scorpio, Apophis, Destroyer, Soul, Osiris, Slain and Risen. And then you raise your arms up just a little bit more, and then you say Isis, Apophis, Osiris. And then you finally get them up to the top of the V in this position, and then you say This is where you say E-A-O. This is where you vibrate, and you'll vibrate it pretty loudly. E-A-O. And this is where you see like this bright, usually just bright white light shining right above you, and it's usually super, super bright. And this is where you can pull down. I usually pull down with the same, with these two fingers, the sword mudra, as they call it, or the sword mudra. Not sure how you pronounce that, but you pull the light down through the middle pillar, through your center, and you say, let the divine light descend. And that is the end of the ceremony, and you basically bathe in this white light that you've created for as long as you can. For me personally, it seems like it allows you to see further down like the pentagrams that you have at each quarter. It's like you can see them more clearly. The shapes and the light is manifested around you a lot more, and you're able to see further down this field, that you've created, this Merkaba kind of thing going on. Okay. Yeah, let the divine light descend. When you pull this light down, feel it cover you and further purify you so that you become positive enough to exist without negative or positive influences around you. If you wish, you may relax in the state for a few minutes before continuing with the ritual. And then after this, you would do the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram, which I've covered in previous videos. So, and I'm still working on the memorization myself for this ceremony. I'm going to go ahead and just run through it real quick. I don't think I'm going to stand up and do it. I'm just going to sit here and, but just show it to you all the way through. So the cross, I-N-R-I, Yod, Nun, Resh, Yod. The sign of Osiris, slain. And then you would do L, the sign of the morning of Isis. V, the sign of Typhon, Apophis, the destroyer. X, the sign of Osiris, slain and risen. L, V, X, Lux, the light of the cross. And then at this part, this is where you form the V again. Now to the sides, not completely up to the top yet. Virgo, Isis, Mighty Mother. Scorpio, Apophis, Destroyer. Soul, Osiris, slain and risen. Move it up slightly. Isis, Apophis, Osiris. E-A-O. And then that's when the white light is formed. Then you pull it down. Let the divine light descend. And feel it pull down all the way down to your feet. I like to pull the light entirely down to the floor, or at least visualize the energy going down to the floor and through my feet into the center of the earth, and then just the white light radiates around you. So I hope that this video helps with anyone who has any questions about the LVX or who is starting to learn it. Of course, as always, go ahead and research other people's videos, see what they have to say with their versions of the LVX. I find it to be really helpful, and it's interesting and powerful so far, and I've just been staying on top of my practices again a little bit more and keeping a journal again, and it feels really good. It's helped keep my, emotions balanced, and I stay a little more aware in the present moment, and I just let things, you know, go the direction they're supposed to go, and everything's manifesting pretty beautifully. I'm really grateful to have all of you on this channel. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. If you want to get new notifications, or if you want to get notifications for when I put up new videos, just make sure you click the little bell on my channel. I think that is it for now. Peace and blessings, everyone. Love you all, and take care.